Once upon a time, in a bustling city where dreams whispered louder than car horns, there lived a young man named Kofi. From the very first moment you meet him in this tale, you learn something powerful: the biggest lies we tell ourselves are the ones dressed up as wisdom. Kofi was 28, sharp-eyed and quick-witted, working a steady job at a logistics firm in Lagos. He had notebooks filled with ideas. Starting an online bookstore that sold African stories to the world, building a small tech hub for neighborhood kids to learn coding, even writing that novel about his grandmother's village life that had been simmering in his heart since secondary school. But every time the spark ignited, he'd lean back in his plastic chair on the balcony and say the same thing: "Not yet. I need the right time. When I have more money saved. When the market is better. When I'm not so tired after work. When everything lines up perfectly." Right there, in those opening lines of Kofi's hesitation, you already feel the lesson sinking in. Waiting for the right time is just fear wearing a suit and tie. The universe doesn't send engraved invitations to success, it only hands you the first tiny step and dares you to take it while your heart is still beating. Kofi didn't know it yet, but every day he delayed, his dreams grew a little heavier, like luggage left too long at the airport carousel. And that's where our story truly begins, not with fireworks, but with the quiet decision to start small. One ordinary Tuesday evening, after another long day of spreadsheets and traffic that made the body ache and the spirit sag, Kofi stepped onto his balcony with a cup of tea and his oldest notebook. The sun was dipping low, painting the rooftops orange and gold, and the distant call of the evening prayer mixed with the laughter of children playing football in the dusty street below. He flipped to a blank page and stared at it. Just one sentence, he told himself. Not the whole book. Not the perfect business plan. Just one sentence about what my grandmother used to say when the rains failed and the yams still grew anyway. He wrote it. 12 words. Nothing fancy. But something shifted. The pen felt lighter in his hand. The page didn't judge him. For the first time in years, the dream didn't feel like a mountain he had to climb in one leap, it felt like a single pebble he could roll forward. That night, Kofi slept better than he had in months. And the next evening, he wrote 2 more sentences. Then 3. By the end of the week, he had a full page. No one was reading it yet. No publisher was calling. But he was learning the second truth that anyone who hears this story will carry with them forever: momentum is born in the smallest actions. Starting small isn't about thinking tiny, it's about tricking your mind into believing the journey has already begun. Because once you begin, the right time stops being a distant shore and becomes the ground beneath your feet. Now, right in the middle of Kofi's quiet transformation, let me pause and tell you the little story he heard that changed everything. It came from his Uncle Mensa, the old man who lived 3 compounds down, the one everyone called Baba Storyteller because his tales always arrived exactly when your soul needed them. Uncle Mensa was 73, with hands scarred from decades of fixing generators and planting cassava. One humid Saturday afternoon, as Kofi sat on the low wooden bench outside the old man's gate, sipping cold malt and swatting mosquitoes, Uncle Mensa leaned forward, eyes twinkling like stars in the harmattan dust. Kofi, my boy," he began, his voice low and rhythmic like the ocean at Bar Beach, "you remind me of the river that carved the great gorge behind my father's village. People think rivers are born mighty, crashing down from mountains in one dramatic rush. But that is a lie we tell children to make bedtime exciting. Let me tell you the true story. Long ago, before any of us were born, there was only a single drop of rain that fell on a high rocky ledge. It did not wait for the monsoon season to bring friends. It did not ask the clouds for permission to be special. It simply landed plop and began to slide. One drop. Then another. Each one starting small, exactly where it fell. Over seasons, those drops found the same path, wearing away a tiny groove no wider than a child's finger. Year after year, the groove deepened. No one noticed at first. The villagers walked past and saw nothing but rock. But the drops kept coming. They did not wait for the right time, when the rock was softer or the wind was kinder. They worked in the dry season and the wet. And one day, decades later, that tiny groove had become a canyon so deep the elders had to shout across it. Children swam in its pools. Farmers grew rice along its banks. The whole village owed its life to a single drop that refused to wait. Remember this, Kofi, the river did not become powerful by dreaming of power. It became powerful by moving, one drop at a time, starting exactly where it was. The right time? Ha! The right time is the moment the first drop decides to fall. Uncle Mensa tapped Kofi's knee with a gnarled finger, and in that gesture, the lesson embedded itself like roots in good soil. You, listening to this story right now, are learning the same thing. Your own canyon, whatever dream you carry, will never be carved by grand announcements or perfect conditions. It will be carved by the daily drops of effort you choose to release today, tomorrow, and the day after, even when no one claps. Kofi left Uncle Mensa's bench that evening walking taller. The very next morning, instead of scrolling through other people's finished success stories on his phone, he opened his notebook again. He started small, yes, but he started. He wrote one paragraph about his grandma. He wrote one paragraph about his grandmother's wisdom. Then he posted it, not a polished book launch, just a quiet Facebook note titled One Drop. 10 people liked it. One auntie from the village commented, "This is exactly what your grandmother used to say." That single comment lit a fire. Kofi realized something profound: starting small invites the world to join you in ways waiting never could. The right time is a myth sold by fear. The real magic happens when you begin imperfectly and let the journey polish you along the way. Week by week, Kofi's drops became a stream. He recorded short voice notes of his writing and shared them in a WhatsApp group for young Lagos creatives. He didn't wait until he had a full manuscript or a fancy website. He simply started a free Canva page called Grandma's Stories and added one new tale every Sunday. Readers trickled in, first 5, then 50, then 500. A small printing press owner in Ikeja heard about it and offered to publish a tiny chapbook of 10 stories. No advance. No guarantees. Just a chance to print 500 copies if Kofi could cover half the cost with his salary. He could have waited for a bigger publisher, for the right funding. Instead, he started small. He sold 20 pre-orders to his office colleagues and used the money to pay his share. The chapbook was rough around the edges, printed on simple paper with a hand-drawn cover by his cousin. But it sold out in 2 weeks. From that first sale, Kofi learned the third eternal truth you're absorbing right now: every big success is just a collection of small, courageous beginnings stacked on top of one another. The online bookstore? It started with him scanning 10 of his grandmother's favorite books on his phone camera and selling them as PDFs for 500 naira each. No warehouse. No investors. Just a Google Drive link and trust. The tech hub for neighborhood kids? It began in his sitting room with one borrowed laptop and 3 curious boys from the compound who wanted to learn how to make cartoon animations. They met every Tuesday evening for 30 minutes. No curriculum. No fancy equipment. Just starting small, one coding block at a time. Years passed, but the habit never left him. Kofi's bookstore now ships physical copies across West Africa. The Tech Hub has grown into a weekend academy with 30 laptops donated by people who read his stories and believed in the power of drops. And the novel? It became a real book dedicated to Uncle Mensa, who passed peacefully 2 harvests ago. But the dedication page carries the real lesson: to the river that started with one drop, and to every dreamer who finally stopped waiting. So here is the ending you've been walking towards since the first sentence of this tale. The right time will never arrive on its own. It is forged the moment you pick up the pen, open the laptop, lace up your running shoes, or send that first awkward message. Start small. Start today. Start messy. Because the canyon you dream of carving is waiting not for perfect weather, but for your first brave drop to fall. And if Kofi could speak to you now, across the pages, he would smile and say, "I was once exactly where you are, full of dreams and excuses. Then I learned the secret." The secret isn't hidden in some distant future. It's right here, in this very moment, in the smallest step you are brave enough to take. Don't wait. Begin. The river is already flowing. Now go. Write your first sentence. Make your first call. Plant your first seed. The world is not waiting for your perfection. It is waiting for your beginning. And that, my friend, is how legends and ordinary lives turned extraordinary are truly made.